Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Tyler Morrison was in the backyard of his house in Austin, Texas, cleaning the grill after a quiet weekend when he heard Brittany's car pull into the garage. It was almost 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and she was just getting back from yet another one of those happy hours that had become so frequent over the past few months. Tyler wasn't the jealous or controlling type. At 42, a Navy veteran who'd served 2 tours in the Middle East before becoming a corporate security consultant, he had confidence in the relationship he'd built with his wife over 16 years of marriage. Brittany had always been independent and ambitious, and he'd always admired that about her. She was a marketing manager at a growing tech startup, and Tyler knew that environment demanded constant networking, social events, and that young, after-work drinks culture. He'd never questioned it. Trust was the foundation of everything for him. Brittany came through the kitchen door with her designer leather bag slung over her shoulder, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the late hour, wearing that new gray blazer she'd recently bought, one that cost more than Tyler thought reasonable for a single piece of clothing. She greeted him with a casual smile, grabbed the electric kettle, and started making herself a chamomile tea, as she always did before bed. Tyler walked in, washed his hands at the sink, and grabbed a beer from the fridge, watching her with the familiarity of someone who's shared a life with another person for a long time. That's when Brittany, stirring the tea bag in her mug, casually dropped the words that would change everything. "Tyler, I've been thinking a lot lately. About us, about our marriage." She paused, blowing on her hot tea. "I think we should explore some options. You know, not be so stuck in old structures. Give each other more freedom." Tyler set his beer down on the counter, his stomach suddenly tight. He looked at her, trying to figure out if this was a joke or the start of a serious conversation. Brittany went on, her tone almost instructional, as if she were pitching a business proposal. "I've been reading a lot about this. Open relationships. Ethical non-monogamy. It's a modern thing, Tyler. Lots of couples are finding they can grow together without limiting themselves. We could keep what we have and still explore connections with other people. It'd be healthy for both of us." She took a sip of tea, waiting for his reaction. Tyler felt like the floor had vanished beneath his feet. 16 years of marriage, 16 years of absolute fidelity and shared building, and now this. He tried to keep his voice steady. "Brittany, where is this coming from? Are you unhappy with me? Did I do something wrong?" She shook her head with an exaggerated look of patience. "It's not about you, Tyler. It's about growth. About not stagnating. I talked to my therapist about this, and she said it's important to question societal structures." Tyler stayed silent for a long moment, processing. The mention of her therapist sounded like premeditated validation, as if she already had a whole argument lined up. "And do you already have someone in mind for this exploration?" he asked, his voice colder now. Brittany quickly looked away, a tiny signal Tyler caught immediately. "It's not about that. It's about the freedom of possibilities." She finished her tea quickly. "You don't need to answer right now. Just think it over, okay? I'm tired, I'm going to bed." And just like that, she left the kitchen, went upstairs, and closed the bedroom door, leaving Tyler alone with his chaotic thoughts. He didn't sleep that night. He stayed on the living room couch, his mind spinning in circles, analyzing every detail from the past few months. The subtle changes he'd ignored started falling into place like pieces of a sinister puzzle. Brittany working later hours. The sudden trips to conferences she'd never prioritized before. The expensive new French perfume. The bolder clothing choices. The way she smiled at her phone while texting, always flipping the screen down whenever he came near. Her sudden interest in the gym and her appearance. Tyler had chalked it all up to her professional growth, the competitive startup environment, the need to present herself well. But now, with this talk about exploring options, everything took on a different, darker meaning. Tyler's instincts, sharpened by years of military and security work, started sounding alarms. This conversation wasn't about philosophical freedom. It was about something concrete. Something already happening. By the time the sun began rising through the curtains, Tyler had already made his decision. He wasn't going to just think it over, like Brittany suggested. He was going to find out the truth, immediately. He heard the shower turn on upstairs and knew he had just a few minutes. Brittany always took her time in the shower, it was one of her sacred rituals. Tyler quietly walked up the stairs and entered the office they shared. Her laptop was open on the desk, still on from the night before. She'd always been careless with passwords, trusting too much in the privacy of home. Tyler felt a pang in his chest, that feeling of violating something sacred, but his need to know the truth outweighed it. He moved the mouse, and the screen lit up. Her email was open, the inbox full of corporate messages. He opened the sent folder and started scrolling, looking for something, anything. It didn't take long. 3 messages down, an email to Adrian Westbrook, her boss, with the subject line "Weekend in the Hill Country." Tyler clicked. His world collapsed in seconds. The message was from a week ago. "Adrian, I can't wait for our weekend. I booked that resort you mentioned, the one with the lake view. We'll finally have time just for us, no hiding, no rush. Love you." Tyler felt bile rise in his throat. He opened more messages. There were dozens, intimate conversations, photos Brittany had sent wearing lingerie he'd never seen, promises of a future together. In a message from 3 weeks earlier, Brittany wrote, "I'm so tired of pretending at home. Tyler's a good man, but he's so predictable. You make me feel alive again. I'll ask for a divorce soon, but I need to do it right so I don't lose too much in the asset split. My lawyer said I'm entitled to half of everything." Adrian replied, "Be patient, my love. We'll be together officially soon. Just don't let anything leak at work before you sort things out with him." Tyler kept reading, each word like a knife. There were emails dating back 2 months, 3 months. This affair wasn't recent. It was planned. Calculated. The shower stopped. Acting on pure instinct, Tyler grabbed his phone and started frantically taking screenshots of the screen, capturing every email, every incriminating message. He opened her laptop's photo folder and found images that confirmed everything: Brittany and a dark-haired, tanned man hugging on a wooden deck overlooking a lake, Brittany laughing in what looked like a hotel bed, selfies of them at restaurants Tyler didn't recognize. He copied everything to his phone in minutes, his heart pounding like a war drum. When he heard the bathroom door open down the hall, Tyler quietly left the office and went downstairs, positioning himself in the living room. Brittany appeared a few minutes later in a robe, her wet hair dripping down her shoulders, drying her face with a towel. She smiled at him, that carefree smile of someone who thinks they're in control. "Good morning. Did you get any sleep?" Tyler stared at her, and something in his gaze must have revealed the game had changed, because her smile faltered. He didn't waste time. "So, Brittany, about this whole exploring options thing, is it about philosophical freedom, or is it about Adrian Westbrook?" Her face instantly went pale. The towel slipped from her hands. What are you talking about?" she stammered, but Tyler was already walking toward her, phone in hand. "I stopped sleeping at 3 in the morning thinking about your proposal. And you know what I realized? You weren't asking for my permission. You were trying to justify something you've been doing for months." He showed her the phone screen, filled with photos of the emails. "Adrian. Your boss. The guy you told me was just a professional mentor. How long have you two been together, Brittany?" 3 months. 4. Brittany stepped back, eyes wide. "Tyler, I can explain. It's not what you think." He laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "Not what I think? Then explain what 'love you' means in your messages." Explain the photos of you two hugging. Explain the weekend at the resort you booked with money from our joint account. He moved closer, his voice low but sharp. And most of all, explain this part where you call your own husband a temporary obstacle, and discuss with your lover how to get rid of me without losing money in the process. Brittany started crying, but Tyler didn't feel an ounce of compassion. You planned it all, didn't you? That whole open relationship talk was just to manipulate me, so that when you finally admitted the affair, I'd already be prepared. Or maybe so you two could be together while I kept funding the comfortable life you love. She shook her head frantically. It wasn't like that. It was just a fantasy, something we wrote but never actually meant to do. I'd never leave you, Tyler, I swear. He showed her another photo on his phone, a message where she detailed how she'd file for divorce, the strategically correct way. This doesn't look like a fantasy, Brittany. This looks like an escape plan. You even discussed a timeline. She clutched her robe, trembling. I was confused. He seduced me, said things I wanted to hear. But I love you, Tyler. Our marriage means everything to me. A cold anger took hold of Tyler. It meant so much that you exchanged messages calling our marriage a convenient facade. It meant so much that you cheated on me in our bed. Because there's a photo here that looks an awful lot like our bedroom. Brittany sobbed louder but didn't deny it. Tyler felt sick. He stepped back. It's over. Our marriage ended the moment you chose another man. And don't come at me with excuses about confusion or seduction. You're a 38-year-old adult. You made conscious choices. And now you'll live with them. Brittany panicked. No, Tyler, please. We can fix this. We can go to couples therapy. I'll end it with him right now, I'll block him, do whatever you want. Just don't leave me. I made a terrible mistake, but you can't just throw away 16 years like that. Tyler crossed his arms. I'm not throwing anything away, Brittany. You already did that. You threw away 16 years the first time you slept with your boss. And the second. And the 20th. You destroyed everything yourself. He started walking up the stairs. You have until the end of the day to get out of my house. Pack your things and go wherever you want, to Adrian's apartment, maybe. See if he'll take you now that the fantasy's about to become reality. Brittany ran after him. Tyler, this house is mine too. You can't kick me out. He stopped at the top of the stairs and looked down at her coldly. The house has been in my name since before we got married. You know that. And with the evidence I have of your affair and misuse of joint funds, trust me, you'll lose badly in any legal fight. He walked into their bedroom and started pulling clothes from the closet, tossing them into a suitcase. I'm being generous giving you the day. I could call the police right now. In the hours that followed, while Brittany made desperate calls to friends and to Adrian, Tyler took action. He called the best divorce lawyer in Austin he knew, a relentless man named Robert Chen who specialized in infidelity cases. Robert listened to everything, reviewed the evidence, and said just 2 words, "You've won." Tyler filed for divorce that same day, attaching all the proof. But he didn't stop there. Tyler personally knew Stephen Kurtz, the CEO of the startup where Brittany and Adrian worked, a man he'd advised on corporate security issues years earlier. Stephen was notoriously conservative and had implemented strict workplace relationship policies after his previous company faced multiple harassment lawsuits. Tyler had no qualms. He sent an anonymous email to HR and to Stephen personally, attaching copies of Brittany and Adrian's messages, especially highlighting those exchanged during work hours and those mentioning the use of company resources for personal meetups. The bomb exploded in less than 48 hours. Adrian Westbrook was called into an emergency meeting with HR and summarily fired for serious violation of the company's code of conduct, especially for engaging romantically with a direct subordinate. The startup couldn't risk lawsuits, and Adrian was sacrificed. Brittany was demoted, lost her team, and transferred to a low-level administrative role, essentially corporate exile. Word spread through the company like wildfire. Colleagues who once admired her now avoided her in the hallways. She became known as the woman who slept with her married boss and caused a scandal that cost people their jobs. Adrian, furious and desperate, blamed Brittany for everything. He called her, yelling that she'd been careless, that she'd exposed them both, that she'd ruined his career. Then, cowardly, he ended it all with a text, "I can't do this anymore. You messed everything up. Good luck with your life." No apology. No accountability. Just abandonment. Brittany tried to cling to the wreckage. She sent Tyler messages begging for forgiveness, claiming she'd been manipulated, that Adrian had taken advantage of her. Tyler blocked her number. She showed up at the house twice, and both times he called the police to remove an intruder. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. With all the evidence presented, the judge ruled in Tyler's favor. The house stayed with him since it had been in his name before the marriage, and Brittany hadn't made significant contributions toward its purchase or upkeep. She had to repay the money she'd spent on her rendezvous with Adrian, money withdrawn from their joint account without permission. Brittany walked away from the marriage with only her clothes, a few pieces of furniture, and a ruined reputation. She tried finding another job in Austin, but the city's tech scene was smaller than it seemed, and everyone knew someone who knew someone. Her name was tarnished. Eventually, she moved to Houston to start over, far from judgmental eyes. 6 months later, Tyler was in a completely different place. He'd started therapy to process the trauma of betrayal, not because he was heartbroken, but because he wanted to understand and move forward in a healthy way. He sold some unused work equipment and invested the money in renovating the house, erasing every trace of Brittany. He started going out again, first just with friends, then accepting dinner invitations. Nothing serious yet, but possibilities. He'd also received an attractive job offer in Denver, a director-level security role at a cybersecurity firm, and was seriously considering it. One Saturday afternoon, as he was returning from the gym, he saw Brittany standing in front of his house. She'd driven 2 hours from Houston to Austin. She looked tired, thinner, with deep dark circles under her eyes. "Tyler, please, I just need 5 minutes. That's all." He sighed but stopped in the driveway, crossing his arms. 5 minutes. Brittany began, her voice shaking. "I know I have no right to ask for anything. I know I ruined everything. But I've thought a lot these past months, and I made the biggest mistake of my life. Adrian was nothing. It was all illusion, ego, stupidity. I threw away the one man who truly loved me for an empty fantasy. And now I'm paying the price. I lost my job, my friends, my reputation, my home. I lost you. And I deserve all of it, I know that. But, is there any chance? Even a small one? Could we try again?" She was crying now, genuine tears streaming down her face. Tyler looked at her and, for a brief moment, felt something like pity. But then he remembered, the messages calling him an obstacle, the cold planning, the betrayal in their bed. And the pity vanished. "Brittany," he said, calm but firm, "you came here asking for a second chance. But you don't understand, there's no second chance when the first one was wasted so completely. You didn't make a mistake. You made choices. Dozens of them. Every time you met him. Every time you lied to me. Every time you used our money to fund your dates. Every time you laughed behind my back, calling me too trustworthy, too predictable. Those weren't momentary lapses. That was sustained, calculated betrayal." He took a step toward her. "Remember when you said you wanted to explore options? Well, Brittany, I explored mine too. And you know the best one I found? A life without you. Without lies. Without manipulation. without waking up every day wondering if I can trust the person next to me. Brittany sobbed harder, but Tyler pressed on, relentless. You destroyed our marriage on your own. And worst of all, you're not sorry for betraying me. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry for the consequences. There's a huge difference. He pointed to her car. Now, please, go. Go back to Houston, rebuild your life, learn from your mistakes, but do it far from me. Because I've already moved on. And you should too. Brittany stood there for a long moment, as if hoping he'd change his mind. But Tyler simply walked into the house and closed the door, locking it. He heard her car drive away minutes later and felt a strange sense of closure. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't exactly relief. It was peace, the peace of knowing he'd made the right choices, that he'd respected himself enough not to accept crumbs from someone who'd treated him as disposable. In the months that followed, Tyler accepted the Denver offer. He moved to Colorado, to snow-covered mountains and fresh air, to a literal and figurative new beginning. He made new friends, explored new hobbies, and even started casually dating an engineer named Rachel he'd met at a tech event. Nothing serious yet, but real possibilities, built on honesty from the start. He never heard directly from Brittany again. But through the inevitable gossip chain of mutual acquaintances, he learned she was still in Houston, working a job far beneath her qualifications, living in a small apartment, alone. Adrian, apparently, had moved to another city and quickly married someone else, as if Brittany had never existed. Tyler didn't miss the irony. She'd risked everything for a man who discarded her at the first sign of trouble. The lesson Tyler carried was simple but profound: betrayal dressed up as personal growth is just cowardice with fancy vocabulary. Emotional manipulation doesn't become acceptable just because it's wrapped in modern concepts of freedom. And most importantly, people who truly love you don't coldly plan how to get rid of their partner while maximizing financial gain. Real love doesn't calculate. It doesn't conspire. It doesn't humiliate. Tyler learned that trusting again would be possible, but never blindly. And he learned that respecting himself sometimes means closing doors others desperately want to reopen. Because not every door deserves a second opening. And some betrayals are too final to forgive, no matter how many tears are shed afterward. Tyler Morrison moved forward, not despite the betrayal, but because of it. Because it forced him to see who Brittany really was. And in seeing that, he chose something better. He chose himself. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.